And this is one of the ways that demons attack the authority structure, is getting people to think they don't have to follow the authority structure. This is one of the reasons why when people come to us, that's one of the beauties of the Liber Christo system, is you're through the process of them doing the protocol, that is, doing the prayer prescription, and then going through the process and removing the obstacles to grace, and then doing this, and through that whole process, they're doing what they're told. They show compliance, that they're actually going to do what you ask them to do. The minute they say, and this is one of the real problems that you have if you don't kind of follow a structure like that, is that you'll start working with people, and then eventually, you'll tell them, look, you've got to give up this or that, and they won't do it because they're too attached to it, which basically means that they're unwilling to follow the authority, not just the authority of the priest and telling them they got to give it up, but the authority of God's law. Look, you can't keep doing drugs. You can't keep, binge drinking. You can't keep watching pornography. You can't be doing these things. And because of their emotional attachment to it, they just don't feel like they have to follow the authority. And that's one of the principal ways the demons attack the authority structure. I don't have to follow them. That is a subtle form of usurpation. What's usurpation? Usurpation is the sin, it's a disorder, it's a sin against justice in which one derogates to oneself the right to determine a thing that is proper to somebody else who has that right. What does this mean concretely? It basically means that the person who has authority, I am taking from him or doing things or acting in areas where he's the one who has the legitimate authority. So authority is a right of disposition in relationship to a thing or persons that binds other people in the form of conscience to perform a specific act in relationship to that thing over which he has disposition. What does this mean? If you own a house, you have rights over the house, which means you can put your furniture wherever you want it. Now, it might be a little weird where you put it, but you can still put it wherever you want it because you have the authority over that, right? It's the same. So I always use the example of gnomes, right? If I have a bunch of gnomes in my front yard, some guy comes up and he starts stealing my gnomes, right? The natural inclination for us as human beings is to first assert our rights of disposition in relationship to the gnomes. Hey, that's my gnome, which means what? I get to determine where that gnome is going to sit, right? Whereas if the guy takes it and totes it off, he's usurping my right of disposition in relationship to that thing. And this is something that you end up seeing quite a bit, is that the demons are constantly trying to get people to commit usurpation. On the side of authority, very often they'll try and get what you see with the clergy. They'll get them to just be derelict in their duty and not fulfill their responsibilities, to not employ, to not make use of that right. Because in some cases in rights, all duties involve rights, but not all rights necessarily involve a duty in relationship to a specific action. So I can have a right in relationship to my gnomes. It doesn't mean I have to take care of them. I can do whatever I want with them. In other words, I don't have to perform certain acts. But in relationship to some things, I do have to perform certain acts. And so when it comes to the gnomes, I have a certain right over it. Demons know that. They know that the person who's possessed or who's being diabolically influenced by them is owned ultimately by God. We're all of God's property. We don't like hearing that phrase, but we ultimately are the property of God. And that means, why? Because he created us, he keeps us in existence. Every single thing about us is in his hands. He owns us. So ownership is right of disposition. God has right of disposition in relationship to us. And the demons know that. This becomes something that the demons will chisel at in relationship to the individual. I'm sure you've heard, if you haven't heard it already, people will come in and they say, I want to get rid of this demon so I can go back to my life as it was. Which is really, they want pain management, or they basically want to go back and lead their life the way they think it should be led, rather than cluing into, what's God telling you through this process? What's God telling you by allowing this possession, that you have to depend on him and do his will, not your own? Because that's the only way you're going to get out of it. So, therefore, the authority has the right to command. What's a command? A command is having or exercising authority, jurisdiction, or control. Basically, it's the issuance of an order. It's a direction. It's binding people to follow or to do specific things that are ordered towards a specific end. That's what a command is. It's sometimes defined as an act of reason of the superior or lawgiver requiring subjects to take a definitive action to an end. Do X. Okay. A command can sometimes simply mean the exercising of authority. However, normally a command in the context of spiritual warfare is the issuing of an order which requires the individual to do something or to stop doing something. In spiritual warfare, we have specific words for this. Adjuration, command. So in Latin, it's adjure, which means to solemnly command. Or praecipere, which also means to command. So basically what that means is that we use specific terms in relationship to demons where we are commanding them, we are issuing. So if I'm commanding a demon, it means I must have the authority to do so. What does that mean? It means that I must have the moral claim over the demon in some fashion, or over the thing in which the demon is influencing. Okay, let's parse that out again. I either have to have authority over the demon, or I have to have authority over the thing that the demon is affecting. If I don't, because when I'm commanding the demon, for example, in relationship to people that are possessed, it's because the bishop is giving me the authority to command the demon in relationship to the person's body to leave. I have the right given to me by the church in order to command him to leave. Or if the person who's possessed, they have the rights over the body. We'll talk about that more later. They have the rights over their body, and therefore they have the right to command the demon, leave. If I don't have rights over the individual, that means I don't have a moral claim over the person or thing that I'm commanding the demon to do, and he knows that. And that's why he attacks you. You have no right to tell me this. You have no moral claim to this thing. And that's why they attack you. And so this is one of the, and if they don't attack you, we'll see this a little bit later, they go after the people and things around you. This is why a lot of people who engage in this ministry, who are lay people, who are doing things that they're doing, commanding the demons to leave, will very often say, well, I'm not suffering from this, and they may be true. And because, we'll see this a little bit later, prayer has a specific effect, prayer begets what it signifies, that means that if I pray for something, it's going to have an effect. Okay, so if it has an effect, as again, prayer begets what it signifies. Where does that come from? It comes right from Christ. God set up the structure. Knock and it will be opened. Two things are being set up. What you pray for will cause, God will bring about the effect that you're asking for. So there's a relationship. Second, the specificity of what you ask for is exactly what you get. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why the demons know you can pray and pray and pray until the cows come home, and you're not going to get them out until you say the prayer that God has decided this is what has to be done. So it's all about precision. Okay, so back up. Prayer has a certain power about it. That's the way God structured it. And it has to do with his honoring of it. He honors his word. If you ask for it, I'll give it to you, right? So that means if you pray for somebody, or if you say a prayer, an imprecatory prayer, which is a commanding prayer, over a demon, God will honor that, provided you're in the state of grace and certain other things. Sometimes, too, just the name of Jesus, he says, by my name you'll cast out demons. He didn't say by my name you'll cast out all demons. He said by my name. So that means that just his name has a coercive force in relationship to demons. That's why people will use Christ's name and then they're like, wow, look at that. I cast this demon out. You did nothing of the sort. The force of Christ's name casts him out. You just happen to employ it. So that they'll see that their prayer is having an effect. They're having success in driving demons out of people. Now, sometimes the demons will just say, hey, you have no authority over me, and they'll just attack the person. Or they'll let the person do it and let the disorder stand so that they can attack them later. And so they'll attack either the person or the things about them if they don't have the authority. If you have a moral claim on it, that means, like if I have a moral claim in relationship to, suppose, let's use another example, a husband in relationship to his children, or a father in relationship to his children, or a mother in relationship to his children, has authority over the children. That means she has a right, and he has a right of disposition in relationship to certain aspects of the children. As a result, if the demons attack them, they have a right to tell the demons to leave. In fact, they have the duty to tell the demons to leave in that particular case. Because the husband, and this is also true of the priest, because he is, provided they follow right order, the natural law, because he's commanding them to leave, the demons know that they have to obey them. They have because he has a right, and I have to render it the structure of their natural law. They might fight a little bit, but their intellect eventually gets the better of them, and they say, okay, I got to do it, because it's too much pain in their will to be at variance with what they know to be the truth. And so eventually they just do it. Okay. But what this means is that they have the right to do that. But God, in establishing the authority structure through the natural and divine positive law, when he concedes authority to a particular individual, it's designed to protect people. That means that the authority himself will be protected when he follows right order in the exercise of his duty in protecting others.